Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you how to use headline case and other capitalization tools in ClipTools. MACMOST and ClipTools are brought to you by more than 1,000 great supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So ClipTools is my free app that you can get here in the Mac App Store. Once you install it and run it, you should see it here in the Mac menu bar. Now, some of the tools don't necessarily involve copying and pasting. They do involve the selection of text, whether it's in TextEdit, Mail, Pages, or whatever. So you can select text like this and then you can perform actions on that selection. So if you look down under Change Selection Case, you have a variety of tools here. Now the first two are fairly simple and something you could already do in macOS in the Edit menu. But I included them anyway just to have a complete set of tools. So you can change the selected text to all uppercase like that. Or you can change the selected case to all lowercase. Handy for when you accidentally type something using the caps lock key and don't realize it until it's too late. Now after that you've got the ability to capitalize all words. So when you use this, every single word gets capitalized, including ones that you may not want capitalized, like the word the here. This is similar to using Edit and then Transformations and then Capitalize. And both can be useful to quickly transform text for a headline, and then you just got to go through and lowercase a few things like this. But I included a few other variations as well. For instance, you've got capitalized sentences. So let's turn this into a sentence, and it's all lowercase now, and I'm going to create a few copies of it like that. And if I select all of that and then use Change Selection Case Capitalized Sentences, notice that the first letter of every sentence has been capitalized. The rest has been left as before. On the other hand, if you go to Change Selection Case and then Capitalize Lines, it'll just capitalize the first letter of every line, or usually you call it a paragraph. So you can see the beginnings of sentences are unchanged. It's just the first character in every line or paragraph of whatever text you've selected. Now capitalized sentences and capitalized lines will not interfere with the existing capital letters. So I have a capital letter here in this example, and if I go and change selection case and say capitalized sentences, you can see it does capitalize the sentence, but it doesn't make everything else lowercase. So now the whole point of change selection case is this one command here, which I built basically for myself. Headline case. So often when you capitalize things in a sentence, you're doing it to create a headline, a title on top of a newsletter or a blog post or whatever. You want to have most words capitalized but not all, and you want to follow certain rules. So I've created headline case here, and if you use that, notice that it capitalizes everything here but didn't capitalize the word the. In addition, if I were to type a word like this where there's unusual capitalization, lowercase first letter and a capital second letter, and I were to use change selection case, headline case, notice how it doesn't change this. So the idea behind headline case is to follow a certain style guide that you may have for headlines. And it may say things like don't capitalize the word the unless it's the first word of the sentence. But do treat words like iPhone and Mac OS as they're supposed to be written out. Don't capitalize the first letter of those words. So the question is, how does it know what your style guide is? Well, that's left up to you. So if you go to Settings and you look at Headline Case Exception Words, there's a comma separated list here of words that will not be capitalized if they appear in the selected text. So you can see some basic things like and, or, not, and so on. You could see some things that have special capitalization like iPhone and MACMOST. And you can add whatever you want here. So for instance, if you find you're often using the word Mac OS like that, you can add that. Now when you have a word like iPhone where there's specific capital letters inside the word, that word will always be treated like that no matter where it is in the text, even if it's the first word. But if a word is all lowercase letters like this, then it will be used like it's spelled out here, except if it's the first word in the text, and then it'll be capitalized. But if there's a word like this that's all lowercase in the list, then that will be capitalized if it's the first word in the sentence. Otherwise it'll appear exactly as it does right there. So when you have a sentence like this, even if you've incorrectly capitalized iPhone like that, you can select it. You can go to Change Selection Case and Headline Case. And notice it does iPhone correctly there. And notice the word for is lowercase. Now here's where it gets tricky. Some style guides say that words like for and in sometimes are capitalized in headlines and sometimes are not. It depends on the grammar and use in the headline. Now ClipTools isn't going to know this. So in some cases you're going to have to use headline text and then go and correct particular items like the word for and in and of. Just include them here if you find most of the time you want them lowercase. And then when there's an exception you can change it. Otherwise, if most of the time you want them capitalized, then remove them from here. And you can add as many words as you want to this. Just keep adding new things to cover all the words that you commonly use for whatever topic you write about. Now I've made it super easy to access headline case with a keyboard shortcut. So the first thing you want to do is go into Settings and then set a global keyboard shortcut. I've got Shift-Command-C set to Activate Menu. So now once you've activated the menu, notice that it's Shift-Command-H. So since both shortcuts use Shift and Command, all you need to do is do Shift-Command-C and then immediately hit H and you've got headline case. So there are a few other things here in change selection case that are kind of just for fun. There's alternate case, and what happens here is every other letter is capitalized. Sometimes people like to use this in text messages or emails just to be more colorful or emphasize something. There's also random case, which is similar but letters are capitalized randomly. And finally there's upside down. What upside down does is it finds characters that kind of look like regular letters but upside down and reverses the text so it reads right to left. So it looks like you've flipped the text. The letters don't always perfectly match what was there before, but they usually look pretty good. At least it's good enough to be able to read it and know what it says. So this is really there just for fun. People like to use this in text messages sometimes. So I hope you find headline case in ClipTools and some of those other case changing functions useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.